A piece of news has just shaken the entire United Kingdom. Only hours ago, Buckingham Palace issued an official statement, one that carries an air of sorrow and tragedy. The atmosphere is heavy. The nation holds its breath, waiting for every detail to unfold. Because in the royal family, nothing is ever announced without meaning. Every public declaration hides a deeper story, often one of heartbreak and loss. And this time, it seems far worse than anyone expected. According to several palace insiders, the statement was signed directly by the king's closest advisors, something that hasn't happened in years. It comes at a time when the royal family is under immense strain, concerns over health, the weight of public image, and secrets long kept behind palace walls. Some suggest this could mark a turning point, one from which there may be no return. Across the country, people are praying. Many fear that this time the tragic news could involve someone deeply loved by the world, or perhaps even signal the end of an era within the monarchy itself. In the midst of confusion and grief, one haunting question lingers in everyone's mind. What heartbreaking truth does this announcement carry? And which member of the royal family is facing the greatest tragedy of their life? What do you think? Is this just another rumor blown out of proportion? Or is it the painful truth that Britain must now face? Share your thoughts in the comments below. A morning that shattered tradition. London awoke with its usual rhythm, red buses gliding along the Thames, the faint hum of early commuters, and tourists capturing photos of Buckingham Palace's guards frozen in their customary stillness. From the outside, the palace shimmered in the morning sun, a symbol of timeless stability and poise. Yet inside, the atmosphere was far from serene. Whispers that had circulated quietly through palace corridors for months now gained volume, growing heavier with every passing hour. Something unprecedented was unfolding. By mid-morning, the air outside the gates thrummed with anticipation. Reporters adjusted cameras and microphones, their whispered speculations filling the crisp London air. The royal press secretary finally emerged, his pale face betraying the tension he struggled to mask. When he spoke, his voice was calm but carried a tremor beneath its measured cadence. Each word he uttered confirmed what many had feared. King Charles's health had declined far more seriously than the palace had ever revealed. The carefully maintained image of unshakable authority fractured instantly. Nature is a separate thing from us, and we can exploit, control, and suppress it, revealing a vulnerability the monarchy rarely showed. Cameras captured rare unguarded moments of the royal family. Prince William stood tense, eyes heavy with responsibility, while Catherine radiated poised elegance, yet subtle tension betrayed her. Composed on the surface, both felt the weight of the storm around them, hinting at pressures that even their rare public grace could not fully conceal. King Charles appeared frail, almost ghost-like, a shadow of the commanding figure he had once been. The weight of decades, duty, and private struggle seemed etched into every line of his face. For the first time, the public glimpsed the human fragility behind the crown. Yet, the most striking detail of the morning was not who stood there, but who was absent. Queen Camilla's empty seat reverberated with unspoken meaning, amplifying the unease in the room. Speculation erupted instantly. Was she unwell? The reception was warm. It was watchful. I couldn't believe how warm, choosing distance or sidelined by shifting dynamics within the palace. Her absence, silent yet deafening, became a defining part of the unfolding drama. Amid the tension, Prince William and Catherine seized the moment to announce the Diana Initiative, ostensibly a program for reform and modernization. It carried a far deeper resonance. Named for Princess Diana, whose passing on August 31st, 1957, left an indelible mark on the nation. The initiative aimed to revive the compassion and humanity she had embodied. William spoke with quiet resolve, emphasizing months of preparation and support from his father, linking the spirit of Diana to a modern monarchy in need of renewal. The public reaction was immediate. Social media flooded with old footage of Diana's warmth, hospital visits, and heartfelt interviews. Moments of genuine kindness reminded the world of her enduring legacy. The initiative resonated widely, portraying a fresh start and subtly redefining royal priorities. Yet, not everyone embraced the change. Sources hinted at Queen Camilla's discomfort, suggesting the initiative risked overshadowing her efforts since ascending as queen in May 2023. For the first time, questions of influence, legacy, and future direction for the monarchy loomed visibly. Behind the gilded walls, power dynamics shifted subtly but unmistakably. With Charles weakened, William and Catherine emerged as decisive figures, steering a narrative entwined with both legacy and change. Every glance, every gesture, and even every absence now carried meaning. The monarchy, so often portrayed as unshakable, revealed an evolving, fragile reality, leaving the world to wonder what would come next. But was this planned? Or did history come flooding back? What secrets lie behind the crown? And how will they shape the future? Keep watching. A palace under strain. Silence inside Buckingham Palace was heavier than any announcement could ever be. Queen Camilla's absence reverberated through the halls, igniting speculation and whispers that spread like wildfire. Some argued she was quietly protecting her health. Others believed she was shielding herself from the storm of tension engulfing the royal household. More daring voices suggested long-hidden conflicts were now surfacing, threatening to disrupt the delicate balance of power. Regardless of the cause, her absence cast a long shadow, exposing vulnerabilities that the public rarely glimpsed. Questions about King Charles III lingered in every corner. How long had he been battling illness in secret? Was his condition more serious than anyone realized? Once seen as a symbol of unwavering strength, the king now appeared fragile. His physical decline was visible to all who looked closely. Reports confirmed that a routine procedure in early 2024 for an enlarged prostate had unveiled a far more serious reality. Cancer had been discovered. Since that revelation, his health had steadily worsened, raising urgent concerns about his ability to carry the weight of the crown. Friends and aides described a man of quiet courage, confronting illness while maintaining dignity, though even simple movements now required a walking stick, a stark contrast to the commanding figure once presented to the world. Images from Sandringham, his sprawling 20,000-acre estate in Norfolk, captured him navigating the gardens with painstaking care, leaning on a wooden cane. While the photos suggested composure, careful observation revealed the strain in his posture, the measured pace of his steps, and the determination etched across his features. Each frame spoke of a monarch grappling not only with illness, but with the passage of time itself. His presence a reminder that even symbols of power carry human vulnerability. Within the palace, Camilla's absence and Charles's faltering health shifted the internal atmosphere. Every glance, every subtle gesture, every measured pause seemed laden with meaning. We cannot help but think of those for whom the devastating effects of conflict, the carefully maintained hierarchy of influence, wavered as uncertainty spread, revealing the fragility that centuries of tradition had often concealed. What had once been a meticulously controlled environment now felt unsettled, charged with questions about leadership, succession, and the future of the monarchy itself. Outside the gates, the public sensed the shift in energy. Ironclad traditions seemed fragile. Every silence, every empty chair, and every faint expression hinted at tensions the palace could no longer fully contain. The perception of invincibility gave way to human vulnerability. Private struggles and public scrutiny collided, leaving an unmistakable impression. The monarchy was confronting a pivotal moment where history, legacy, and personal frailty converged in ways that would shape what came next. Every small sign, an absent figure, a strained expression, a deliberate pause, carried weight beyond the palace walls. The world watched, aware that beneath the surface of pomp and ceremony, the monarchy faced a test of resilience unlike any in living memory. The hidden strain of a king. Charles moved through Sandringham with a smile carefully placed. The serene gardens offered a backdrop of timeless calm. Yet those who observed him closely insist that the public only glimpses a fragment of the truth. Behind the composed facade lies a man grappling with pain that refuses to be masked. The walking stick he leans on has become more than a support. It is a quiet symbol of his growing frailty, a reminder of mortality that shadows every deliberate step. Once vigorous and commanding, he now navigates the world with measured care, each movement weighed against the limits his body imposes. Insiders revealed that the king has turned to whiskey to ease persistent pain and emotional strain. Beneath public composure, he bears the weight of a long-standing rift with Prince Harry. Each passing day deepens the urgency to reconcile, leaving unspoken regret and quiet ache beneath measured smiles, exposing the human fragility behind the royal image. Despite these personal struggles, Charles remains committed to fulfilling the demands of the monarchy. His public appearances, fewer and meticulously orchestrated, are designed to project stability and reassurance across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. We also share with so many of you in the United Kingdom and all the countries. Observers note the careful contrast between his composed public demeanor and the private vulnerabilities described by palace insiders. Even as his body shows signs of decline, he draws on a reserve of determination to perform his role, balancing appearances of confidence with the reality of physical and emotional strain. Each step, each glance, each carefully arranged smile carries the dual burden of tradition and personal limitation, highlighting the tension between duty and the human experience. The king's current struggles are compounded by the cruel irony of timing. Decades of preparation for the throne have given way to an early confrontation with serious illness, disrupting what should have been a steady ascent. Reports indicate that a routine procedure in early 2024 revealed a more severe condition. Cancer. Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life. Since then, his health has deteriorated steadily, prompting concern about his capacity to continue with the full weight of his responsibilities. Sandringham images show him leaning on a wooden cane while navigating the gardens, his posture measured, his movements deliberate, projecting strength even as the toll of time and illness becomes evident. The tension inside the palace is further magnified by the complex dynamics surrounding his family. The combination of Charles's frailty, private grief, and the careful orchestration of public appearances underscores a monarchy navigating vulnerability and legacy simultaneously. The intricate balance of power, influence, and familial relationships has shifted subtly. You can't be the same as the sovereign if you're the Prince of Wales or the heir, exposing cracks that were previously concealed behind tradition and ceremony. Every expression, every gesture, every silence resonates with the challenges of maintaining authority while confronting personal limitations, creating a portrait of a king whose public persona of stoicism contrasts sharply with private struggles. This period in Charles's reign is defined by the interplay between duty, legacy, and the inescapable realities of life. For someone who has spent decades preparing to lead, the irony of facing profound illness so early in his kingship adds weight to every decision, every interaction, and every public engagement. It is a reign that for now exists in the delicate balance between tradition and vulnerability, between public expectation and private endurance, and between a king's devotion to duty and the inescapable constraints of mortality. But if the crown bears both duty and private struggle, how will the next generation shape its legacy? Keep watching. The quiet reinvention of the monarchy. Prince William stood beside Princess Catherine, the poised and steady presence at his side as they revealed what would soon grip the public imagination, the Diana Initiative. On the surface, it appeared to be a typical reform project, a step toward modernizing the monarchy's charitable work and connecting it to contemporary British life. But the choice of name carried weight far beyond the ceremonial. By invoking the memory of Princess Diana, who tragically died in Paris on August 31st, 1997, there was just this sea of flowers. So many people traveled to London. William was resurrecting a figure whose legacy had long lingered in public hearts and royal whispers alike. It was a name that had the power to stir memory, evoke emotion, and subtly shift the monarchy's narrative. This was not mere charity. It was legacy woven into every gesture, mission, and speech under the initiative's banner. The palace halls, meanwhile, were alive with quiet upheaval. Behind the polished doors of Buckingham Palace, routines persisted, yet the focus of the monarchy was quietly shifting. Meetings once centered on King Charles now increasingly highlighted William's vision. Journalists' attention drifted from Clarence House to Kensington Palace. Observers could feel the subtle realignment. William, once cautious and understated, now carried himself with deliberate energy and focus. Each speech and public appearance crafted with precision, Catherine complimented him seamlessly, offering a genuine warmth that contrasted sharply with Queen Camilla's calculated image. Her hospital visits, school appearances, and community engagements resonated with authenticity, drawing trust and admiration from the public and subtly reinforcing her husband's rising influence. Camilla, who had worked for years to cement her image, now found her presence waning. Her name appeared less frequently in news coverage. Her charitable work received scant attention, and whispers of her growing isolation surfaced from sources close to the royal household. While the palace did not formally announce a transition of power, the dynamics had already begun to shift. A quiet but unmistakable repositioning was underway, and Charles, despite remaining the king, appeared increasingly peripheral as his son and daughter-in-law emerged at the forefront. The Diana Initiative symbolized more than a project. It was a carefully timed bridge between past and present, honoring a beloved figure while shaping a new era. Each event, each public engagement carried the echo of Diana's compassion and courage, reminding the world of her enduring influence and connecting it directly to William and Catherine's leadership. In effect, the monarchy was being subtly rewritten. Staff and advisors began aligning their actions with this emerging power structure, adjusting schedules and strategies to reflect the shifting focus. The changes were quiet, almost imperceptible to the casual observer, but undeniable to those who followed the palace closely. Even King Charles, seasoned by decades of tradition, recognized the transformation with a mix of disbelief and resignation. Discussions with William at Clarence House were tense but measured, revealing a generational divide between caution rooted in legacy and urgency guided by contemporary relevance. In the corridors of power, influence was moving steadily to the next generation, signaling not an upheaval, but a quiet reinvention. So, was this planned, or did history itself demand a return? What secrets lie behind the crown, and how will they shape the monarchy's future? Keep watching. Diana's legacy reclaimed. Within hours of its unveiling, the Diana Initiative ignited a storm of attention across social media, news outlets, and public discourse. Old footage of Princess Diana resurfaced, her gentle laughter, her warm embrace of sick children, the sincerity in her gaze that seemed to pierce the screen. For millions around the world, it felt as though her spirit had returned, not in body, but through her son and his steadfast wife, reclaiming the place in history the monarchy had long attempted to contain. Inside the palace, however, the reverberations were far more complex. What the public saw as a heartfelt tribute carried an undertone of challenge, subtle but undeniable. For King Charles, the initiative reopened wounds he had spent decades trying to bury. Painful memories of a marriage that collapsed under the glare of public scrutiny, scandals that shadowed his reign, and the enduring influence of a woman whose presence continued to define his era, even in absence. To him, this was not simply about charity. As I said, many end up on the streets as a last resort. It was a reopening of old chapters, a reminder of the personal and political pressures he had navigated for years. Queen Camilla felt the shift even more acutely. Years of carefully cultivating her public image, gradually earning recognition and trust, now seemed vulnerable. Diana's name, invoked deliberately and prominently, cast a long shadow over all she had worked to build. Observers noted her absence from key events, once attributed to health or coincidence, now interpreted as a strategic retreat, hesitant to endorse a project that might eclipse her own role and subtly alter the monarchy's narrative. Meanwhile, Prince William and Princess Catherine moved with a quiet determination, unbound by hesitation. Their actions suggested a deliberate and confident staking of claim not just to the monarchy's charitable efforts, but to the very essence of its contemporary identity. Every speech, every engagement under the Diana Initiative echoed with purpose, linking the values of empathy, courage, and connection that had defined Diana's life to the present-day monarchy. The initiative had transformed from a charitable program into a vehicle for legacy, a tangible revival of the people's princess embedded within royal duties. The shift was subtle yet profound. Where once the focus had rested on King Charles and Queen Camilla, the momentum now centered on William and Catherine. The palace felt the quiet tremors of a generational recalibration. Alliances adjusted, advisors realigned, and public perception began to follow the new direction. What had started as a program of reform had become a statement of enduring influence, a reminder that some legacies never fade. They intensify, reshaping power, presence, and perception in ways both visible and unseen. Diana's memory was no longer confined to history books or archival footage. It had returned to the heart of royal life, challenging traditions, stirring emotions, and quietly redefining the contours of authority within the palace walls. The quiet shift of power to the outside world, the royal family projected the image of flawless composure. Ribbon cuttings, gala events, and meticulously posed photographs reinforced a sense of unity and unwavering tradition. Yet beneath the polished surface, a subtle transformation was quietly reshaping the monarchy. Observers who followed every public appearance, every handshake, and every carefully choreographed smile began to notice something different. A quiet current of change threading through the palace halls. The first hints appeared in the media. Reporters tracking royal schedules observed a shift in attention. Kensington Palace, home to Prince William and Princess Catherine, was commanding increasing headlines. Clarence House, long the center of King Charles and Queen Camilla's public presence, suddenly felt overshadowed. Press briefings, feature articles, and even social commentary began highlighting William and Catherine's growing influence. Advisors who had once focused solely on Charles were subtly recalibrating their priorities, placing William in the spotlight and allowing his voice to carry weight both inside the palace and across the nation. Prince William, historically measured and cautious, now exhibited a quiet but undeniable transformation. Hesitation gave way to conviction, and his words resonated with authority. His public appearances were no longer simple acts of duty. They reflected intent, strategy, and a growing understanding of the responsibilities awaiting him. Every gesture, from a visit to a hospital to a speech addressing national concerns, conveyed purpose. Those who observed closely sensed that William was no longer waiting in the shadows. He was stepping into the role he had long been preparing for, shouldering a presence that transcended his title. Princess Catherine's presence amplified this shift. Her interactions were heartfelt, genuine, and consistently visible, creating a sense of connection with the public that went beyond formal obligation. While Queen Camilla maintained her routines, her influence appeared to wane in comparison. Her public profile suddenly diminished as William and Catherine's prominence grew. Within the palace, the balance of power was evolving almost imperceptibly. Meetings, schedules, and strategies were increasingly guided by William's vision, quietly signaling a realignment at the core of the monarchy. The heir was no longer simply waiting for the crown. He carried its weight in his posture, his tone, and in his presence, announcing with every action that a new era of influence and authority was quietly taking shape. But what hidden tensions simmer between father and son? And what impact could they have on the royal family? Keep watching to find out. The silent rivalry within the palace. At every public moment, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood as more than just a partner to Prince William. It's important to look after their well-being, because those are the people that are raising children today. She had become the quiet anchor of his expanding influence, where Camilla's appearances often felt measured and rehearsed. Catherine radiated ease and authenticity. Her visits to hospitals, schools, and community events created a bridge between the monarchy and the public that no royal protocol could manufacture. Her warmth and genuine connection quickly became a defining feature, complementing William's growing authority and painting a vision of a modern monarchy, compassionate, capable, and unmistakably present. The subtle tension first flickered during a high-profile charity luncheon, asked about the Diana Initiative, the project honoring William's late mother. Queen Camilla offered a polite, carefully measured remark. The monarchy has always served with dedication. We don't need to invoke the past to prove it. The words, controlled and precise, carried an unmistakable subtext. Observers and journalists immediately sensed a veiled critique, interpreting it as a quiet challenge not only to Diana's enduring legacy, but also to Catherine, who had embraced it as part of her own mission. Within hours, social media and headlines erupted, framing the moment as a clash between continuity and modernity, tradition and renewal. Prison was the best thing that happened to me. One prisoner told me on a recent visit. Catherine Chen, however, remained composed. She did not respond immediately. Days later, at a modest event for the Diana Initiative, she addressed the audience with calm authority. This work isn't about the past. It's about the future. We build together. The simplicity of her statement carried undeniable weight, subtly asserting a forward-looking vision while honoring Diana's memory. Public sentiment swiftly aligned in her favor, interpreting her words as a clear signal that the monarchy's next chapter would embrace compassion, connection, and renewal. Within the palace walls, whispers grew louder. Staff and advisors who had once navigated carefully between the generations now quietly acknowledged a shift in influence. The balance, long anchored by Charles and Camilla, was gradually tilting toward William and Catherine. It was not a rebellion nor an official handover. Rather, it was a deliberate rebalancing of power executed through measured gestures, strategic engagements, and the subtle crafting of public perception. The monarchy appeared steady, but beneath the surface, a quiet transformation was reshaping its future in real time. But what's truly fueling these rivalry rumors? And how far do they reach? Stay tuned as the story unfolds. Whispers of a royal rift. Within the polished halls of the palace, tension simmered quietly, unseen by the public, yet unmistakable to those who observe closely. Princess Anne, known for her steadfast loyalty, unflinching honesty, and relentless dedication to duty, had begun to display a rare, visible frustration, calm and disciplined as ever. She rarely indulges in drama, but the subtle shifts unleashed by the Diana Initiative had stirred something in her, an irritation she could no longer fully conceal. Her watchful presence signaled that the quiet reshaping of influence and power within the royal family was far from complete. Anne's sharp disapproval frequently focused on Queen Camilla, whose resilience and carefully curated public persona often clashed with Anne's directness. The roots of their tension stretched back decades. In the early 1970s, Anne shared a close bond with Andrew Parker Bowles, the cavalry officer who would later marry Camilla. Though that connection eventually cooled, it left lingering unease. He went through different phases as a child by loving this or that. But when Camilla later became entwined with Charles, the future king, the palace's internal dynamics grew more complicated, turning private discomfort into enduring friction. By the 1980s, the entangled relationships between Charles, Diana, and Camilla had erupted beyond mere gossip, leaving invisible marks of resentment, caution, and rivalry that would shape interactions for years to come. Even now, the echoes of those early conflicts informed every glance in every measured word between Anne and Camilla, where Camilla's strategic maneuvers sought to maintain influence and public favor. Anne's principled directness challenged them, subtly questioning decisions and priorities. This was not mere family squabbling. It reflected a deeper struggle over loyalty, authority, and the moral compass of the monarchy itself. Insiders suggest that Anne's interventions are guided by a desire to uphold tradition and service to the public, even when it means confronting a queen who has spent years securing her place at the heart of the institution. The tension between them is as enduring as it is delicate, a living testament to the palace's hidden complexities. Each interaction, each carefully controlled meeting carries the weight of history, reminding all who watch that in the royal household, old rivalries never truly fade. They only lie in wait. But what hidden truths lie beneath the crown? And how could they shake the royal family? Let's find out. Shadows behind the crown. The palace gleams with tradition, ceremony, and carefully curated appearances. Yet beneath the grandeur, the monarchy faces its most subtle challenges. After 7 decades of waiting, King Charles finally wears the crown. Yet, his reign is weighed down not by scandal but by history itself, the towering legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, and the enduring memory of Diana, the people's princess. Instead of a reforming sovereign, Charles finds himself presiding over a quiet transition where influence is measured not by proclamation, but by nuance and presence. Queen Camilla, once dismissed by the public and the press, has fought diligently to secure her role beside the king. But even crowned, her position feels tenuous. Diana's memory lingers, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, shines with effortless charisma, gaining trust and admiration in ways Camilla struggles to match. In subtle gestures, absences, and carefully timed appearances, the balance of influence begins to tilt. The fear of irrelevance shadows Camilla's every move, her authority quietly challenged by history and the court of public opinion alike. Meanwhile, William and Catherine carry the heaviest burden, the future of the monarchy itself to the world. They are the embodiment of renewal, modern, compassionate, and capable of guiding the crown into a new era without shattering its ancient traditions. Yet, this expectation is no small task. Every speech, engagement, and decision must convey loyalty while signaling subtle progress, innovation, and leadership. Within the palace, whispers, fleeting glances, and hushed strategies reveal what public ceremonies cannot. The quiet reshaping of power, influence is moving deliberately, strategically, and with methodical precision. The monarchy is not collapsing with it is evolving, layered with memory, rivalry, and intention. Beneath the glittering crowns and polished smiles, change unfolds, subtle yet undeniable, as the institution's deepest truths emerge not from speech or stone, but from the silence that carries more weight than words ever could. So, what do you think? Are the royals on the brink of their biggest internal shakeup yet? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to comment and subscribe.